Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. And today's virtue is sexual purity. Now, this one's going to be structured a little differently because of the nature of the subject matter. Now, sexual purity, as defined, is exactly that, purity in sexuality. And ultimately what it means, especially from a biblical perspective, that you have sexual thoughts and actions only to and for your spouse. And that's ultimately what it is. You save yourself from marriage. You don't go out of your way to look at sexual images. You dismiss sexual thoughts, and you don't run around and have sex with anybody you can get your hands on. And that's the whole idea of sexual purity. And it is a virtue because it's something that people really don't do these days. Matter of fact, virginity is something looked down upon, and you have to have, quote, experience before you get married, or your spouse will be disappointed in the sexual performance. But there are other reasons why we don't stay sexually pure, and ultimately it's because sexual thoughts and sexual actions are very pleasurable, and they activate things in our brain that just make us desire more of it. Now, some may call it an addiction, but it's certainly something that can be controlled. And people have done it for years, and they can do it even to this day. So, what is the idea? Why should we be sexually pure? Ultimately, it pleases God, and that should be my end one. But it's my first one because God designed sex for a man and his wife, and only those two. He did not design it to be with whomever and whatever you can. To be sexually pure is the idea you stay away from sexual images. Now, I know that's impossible in our modern day because sexual imagery is very touted and expressed everywhere you go. You cannot drive down the street without a billboard or an ad. Even if you don't see it, you hear the sexual overtones or undertones. You can't watch TV without some kind of sexual activity going on. And certainly the internet is littered with that stuff. And some sections of the internet, that is the purpose of it all. Now, sexual purity, it's hard to do, hard to come by. And even if you've done things in the past, that does not mean you have to continue on in them. Your sexual desire should be only for your spouse, and vice versa. Your spouse should only have a sexual desire for you. So stay away from the internet when it comes to sexual imagery. Stay away from certain shows where that's the whole idea and purpose of that show. Stay away from the dating sites or the social media sites that go out of their way to show this imagery and not only encourage it, but finance it. And there are plenty of websites that do that, and you will get paid if you expose yourself on the internet. And that's another thing we are not supposed to do, and we're not supposed to cause others to become sexually impure. We're not to cause sexual thoughts within somebody. If we're causing someone else to sin, then we too are sinning. Yes, it is our fault, and you do have a responsibility. And if you want to go with the idea that it's not your fault that they look at you, well, it is your fault if you give them something to see. And I know it's a very big struggle in our society. Even, yes, it doesn't matter what time period you're even in the Victoria era, sexual thoughts were going on. No matter how dressed the person is, you can still think of them in a sexual way. So the whole idea, the Bible tells us to keep our thoughts pure, keep our motives pure, keep our bodies pure. And you can reference 1 Corinthians chapter 6 for a lot of that. So take some time and say, no, I don't want to look at that. I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to think this way. I'm going to keep myself for my spouse because that's what my spouse not only deserves, it's a God-given right that our spouses get us sexually and no one else. And that's why the vows say to keep yourself, forsaking all others. And that means with your thoughts, your actions, and even your words and how you talk about people. So take some time, examine yourself, and find out where you struggle, where do you see those images most, and learn to turn your head and heart away from them. This has been 5 Minute Ministries. and I'll see you next time.